Hi, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I cover the top 5 reasons why most data science and analytics projects fail. If you've been working as a data scientist or an analyst, you've probably experienced a mix of successful projects and failed projects, but you may not have clear insight into what determines whether a project will be a success or a failure.
I'm Dr. Christy. I'm a researcher and a data science director, and I help analysts and data scientists take their career to the next level.
Let's get into it. So the first reason is that objectives and deliverables are not clearly defined. It means it's not scoped well. It's fuzzy on the objective and it's fuzzy on the deliverable, and how the deliverable solves that problem is fuzzy. And what happens is, if you move forward with that kind of project, you end up with this fuzzy deliverable that's pretty useless and doesn't solve anything. So I've talked a lot in my other videos about the importance of scoping and what's included, but basically you're going through and mapping your objective, your problem that you're solving with the data and the model and the type of deliverable, and you think through how you would use the deliverable, all those sorts of things. And what you're really focused on is making sure that there's a really clear thread between what you're building and how it's going to solve the problem. So if their problem is customer fraud is too high, you're doing some analytics or data science project, it needs to be the case that the goal of your tool is to decrease the likelihood of customer fraud, and the way in which you're saying to use your tool, that process is going to result in lowering the fraud. It can't just be some random insights or random numbers that are not directly leading to bringing those fraud numbers down. So for example, people might build a dashboard or something that has the counts of something. What does seeing that have to do with bringing fraud down? So you have to build a deliverable where when they use it in the way that you've designed for them to use it, it is going to bring the fraud numbers down. So there needs to be such a tight linkage between the problem that they have that you're solving and the solution you're building. And whenever there's not, and there's a gap, that's when your project gets into this failure category, where you build something and they don't use it because it's not helping them. The second reason is the lack of using project timelines that are specific for data science and analytics projects. So when people don't have that, what ends up happening is the project just drags on and it just never ends, and all of that initial excitement that people had about the project just disappears, and they're cranky, they're irritated, and they feel like that whole department is not ever doing anything very useful. It happens, and once it happens on one project, that general sentiment will start spreading to all the other projects. So it's really important to be proactive about managing your project, scoping it properly, and using timelines with milestones, and you have all the appropriate backup plans. If things don't go your way and you're not able to hit a milestone, you let them know, but you've also started to work on these alternative backup options that will help you to keep making progress and keep moving forward. That ties into the third one. The third one is not having backup plans for data metrics issues or any other data issues. Part of steering projects to success is anticipating problems or delays. So especially with regard to data metrics, you want to have multiple options, different choices, different options that you can choose from. And if one doesn't work, you just go to the next one and go to the next one and go to the next one. You iterate through pretty quickly so that within your timeline, you get to a data set that has all of the features that you need. It measures different concepts, and you can start your analysis. If you don't do that and you just have one option for each data point and that one doesn't work, or it gets stuck, you're not able to pull it, it's difficult to access, the whole thing breaks down and your project will just drag on, and people lose that faith that you're actually going to deliver something. So it's really important to, as you're going through your career, cultivating these reasons why projects don't go well, what creates delays, especially related to data, and then developing backup plans and options where you can proactively anticipate and plan how you're going to deal with different situations and delays and keep things moving so that you keep things on track and keep getting things done. Hi, if you're enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. It's really helpful as I'm a brand new channel getting started, and it makes a huge impact. Let's get back to the video. The fourth reason is not having a mock-up and the user experience conversation. So a mock-up is of your deliverable, and it allows you to have a conversation with stakeholders about the tool you're building, what kind of features it has, how they can use it, all those sorts of things. And you can get their feedback so that you can refine it with them, and it's a joint effort. That way, when you build the thing, they're not going to be surprised, and they're not going to be wanting like a whole bunch of other things, because they partnered with you to build it and they were there from the beginning. And they could tell you pretty early on if this was something that they would use or if this is something that they, don't find very useful. You don't actually need to build the thing to get that sort of feedback. You can mock it up or build like a really simple prototype in a short amount of time and then get that feedback and have those conversations. And basically you're vetting this project, you're vetting the idea on the front end and weeding out all the terrible projects so that you steer it towards success. And when people don't do that, they haven't vetted out the bad ideas and they just move forward and end up with a failure. So the fifth and final reason is not having pilot plans and not being able to measure ROI. So what that means is you don't know if people are using your solution, your deliverable, your analytics tool, and you also don't know the impact that it's having. Did it solve that initial problem? Did it not? Did it solve it a little bit? Like, you have no idea. So you got to be measuring the ROI metrics. You have to figure out what makes sense, and then you need to have a pilot study and run it for a couple months or a couple weeks, whatever it is, and do an assessment or an evaluation to see, are they using this tool? Is it solving that original problem? So going back to our original example of customer fraud, you would have metrics to evaluate how you can assess if this tool drove down fraud. So you'd have a measurement of fraud, but then you also want to capture how did use of the tool drive it down. So is it usage? Is it frequency? Is it, any of those things where you can measure that with the tool, this is the rate of fraud. Without the tool, this is the rate of fraud. And hopefully you're seeing that when they use the tool, fraud is decreasing relative to before. So you want to plan and design those sorts of measurements, and that's going to let you steer your project in the right direction and avoid these well-known failures that can happen. So that's it for today. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.